Jim said. Sam's a good man, although I don't think he ever met a payroll. General Houston's leaving it up to me, Travis told them. Well, that's that, Jim said unhappily. So what are you figuring to do, Bill? Travis stood up in the weak, flickering candlelight, one hand on the polished hilt of his saber. The other two men winced, watching him. Gentlemen, Houston's trying to pull his militia together while he falls back. You know, Texas was woefully unprepared for a contest at arms. The general's idea is to draw Santa Anna as far into Texas as he can, then hit him when he's extended, at the right place and right time. But Houston needs more time. Santa Anna's moved faster than any of us anticipated. Unless we can stop the Mexican army and take a little steam out of them, General Houston's in trouble. Jim flicked the knife blade in and out. Go on. This is where we come in, gentlemen. Santa Anna can't leave a force of 180 men in his rear. If we hold fast, he must attack us. But he has no siege equipment, not even large field cannon. Travis's eye gleamed. Think of it, boys. He'll have to mount a frontal attack against protected American riflemen. Ord, couldn't your Englishers tell him a few things about that? Whoa, now, Jim barked. Billy, anybody tell you there's maybe 4,000 or 5,000 Mexicaners coming? Let them come. Les will leave. But Jim's sour face turned to the other man. Davy, you got something to say? Hell, yes. How do we get out after we done pinned Santa Anna down? You thought of that, Billy boy? Travis shrugged. There is an element of grave risk, of course. Ord, where's the document, the message you wrote up for me? Ah, thank you. Travis cleared his throat. Here's what I'm sending on to General Houston. He read, Commandancy of the Alamo, February 24th, 1836. Are you sure of that date, Ord? Oh, I'm sure of that, Ord said. Never mind. If you're wrong, we can change it later. To the people of Texas and to all Americans in the world, fellow freemen and compatriots, I am besieged with 1,000 or more Mexicans under Santa Anna. I have sustained a continual bombardment for many hours, but have not lost a man. The enemy has demanded surrender at discretion. Otherwise, the garrison is to be put to the sword if taken. I have answered the demand with a cannon shot, and our flag still waves proudly over the walls. I shall never surrender or retreat. Then I call on you in the name of liberty, of patriotism, and everything dear to the American character. He paused, frowning. This language seems pretty old-fashioned, Ord. Oh, no, sir, that's exactly right, Ord murmured. To come to our aid with all dispatch. The enemy is receiving reinforcements daily and will no doubt increase to 3,000 or 4,000 in 4 or 5 days. If this call is neglected, I am determined to sustain myself as long as possible and die like a soldier who never forgets what is due his honor or that of his homeland. Victory or death. Travis stopped reading, looked up. Wonderful, wonderful, Ord breathed. The greatest words of defiance ever written in the English tongue, and so much more literate than that chap at Bascom. You mean to send that? Jim gasped. The man called Davy was holding his head in his hands. You object, Colonel Bowie? Travis asked icily. Oh, cut that colonel stuff, Bill, Bowie said. It's only a National Guard title, and I like Jim better, even though I am a pretty important man. Damn right I have an objection. Why, that message is almost aggressive. You'd think we wanted to fight Santa Anna. You want us to be marked down as warmongers? It'll give us trouble when we get to the negotiation table." Travis' head turned. "Colonel Crockett, what Jim says goes for me, too. And this, I'd change that part about all Americans, etc. You don't want anybody to think we think we're better than the Mexicans. After all, Americans are a minority in the world. Why not make it all men who love security? That'd have worldwide appeal." "Oh, Crockett," Travis hissed. Crockett stood up. "Don't use that tone of voice to me, Billy Travis. That piece of paper you got don't make you no better than us. I ran for Congress twice and won. I know what the people want." "What the people want doesn't mean a damn right now," Travis said harshly. "Don't you realize the tyrant is at the gates?" Crockett rolled his eyes heavenward. "Never thought I'd hear a good American say that. Billy, you've never run for office." Boy held up a hand, cutting into Crockett's talk. "All right, Davy, hold up. You ain't running for Congress now. Bill, the main thing I don't like in your whole message is that part about victory or death. That's got to go. Don't ask us to sell that to the troops." Travis closed his eyes briefly. "Boys, listen. We don't have to tell the men about this. They don't need to know the real story until it's too late for them to get out. Then we shall cover ourselves with such glory that none of us shall ever be forgotten. Americans are the best fighters in the world when they are trapped. They teach us this in the foot school back on the Chattahoochee. And if we die, to die for one's country is sweet." "Hell with that," Crockett drawled. "I don't mind dying, but not for these big landowners like Jim Bowie here. I just been thinking I don't own nothing in Texas." "I resent that," Bowie shouted. "You know very well I volunteered after I sent my wife off to Acapulco to be with her family." With an effort, he calmed himself. "Look, Travis, I have some reputation as a fighting man. You know, I lived through the gang wars back home. It's obvious this Alamo place is indefensible, even if we had 1,000 men. But we must delay Santa Anna at all costs." Bowie took out a fine dark Mexican cigar and whittled at it with his blade. Then he lit it, saying around it, "All right, let's all calm down. Nothing a group of good men can't settle around a table. Now listen. I got in with this revolution at first because I thought old Emperor Iturbide would listen to reason and lower taxes. But nothing's worked out because hotheads like you, Travis, queered the deal. All this yammering about liberty. Mexico is a republic under an emperor, not some kind of democracy, and we can't change that. Let's talk some sense before it's too late. We're all too old and too smart to be waving the flag like it's the 4th of July. Sooner or later, we're going to have to sit down and talk with the Mexicans. And like Davy said, I own 1,000,000 hectares, and I've always paid minimum wage, and my wife's folks are way up there in the imperial government of the Republic of Mexico. That means I got influence in all the voting groups, including the American immigrant, since I'm a minority group member myself. I think I can talk to Santa Anna, and maybe even to old Iturbide. If we sign a treaty now with Santa Anna, acknowledge the law of the land, I think our lives and property rights will be respected." He cocked an eye toward Crockett. "Makes sense, Jim. That's the way we do it in Congress. Compromise, everybody happy. We never allowed ourselves to be led nowhere we didn't want to go, I can tell you. And Bill, you got to admit that we're in a better bargaining position if we're out in the open than if old Santa Anna's got us pinned up in this old Alamo." "Ord," Travis said despairingly, "Ord, you understand. Help me. Make them listen." Ord moved into the candlelight, his lean face sweating. "Gentlemen, this is all wrong. It doesn't happen this way." Crockett sneered. "Who asked you, Ord?" I bet you ain't even got a poll tax." Decisively